Good evening. We begin with harrowing new details in the apartment fire that claimed 3 lives in Hamilton, including 2 little children.
Frantic moments as flames trapped residents, neighbors helping neighbors to escape the extreme heat and heavy smoke. CTV's Janice Golding reports.
The charred remains of a children's bed can be seen behind shattered glass, twisted metal and caution tape. The only piece of furniture still recognizable in a first-floor unit ravaged by flames.
We had fire blowing out of the apartment into the hallway. Extreme heat, extreme smoke, extreme flame.
While fire crews tried to stop the blaze, still others were occupied with those fleeing the building.
We were then performing rescues and assisting people out of the stairwell in the hallway.
We don't have lighting in the hallways.
Jonathan Madison lives on the 3rd floor. He says he eventually made his way out of the building with his dog Benji, but he and his roommates would all end up in hospital with smoke inhalation.
By the time I hit the 2nd floor, it was thick black smoke. I could not see within 2 inches of my face. Luckily, the firefighters managed to get all of us out.
Faza Idrous, meanwhile, was separated from her baby girl trying to help an elderly neighbor get out of the building.
It was just smoke, black smoke. You can't see where you're going. There are no lights, no sprinklers. You're inhaling it. And it's pitch black. That stairwell, it's a stairwell to death, I feel.
With no way down, Idrous got off on the 11th floor.
We started banging every door on the 11th floor that someone may open up.
Idrous would eventually take shelter on someone's balcony. Her husband and daughter, who'd left moments earlier, on another stranger's balcony on the 10th floor.
I tried going to 9th floor and it was pitch dark. There's no lights. I work in construction. We should have that fire, emergency lights, which should be blinking so that we can see the way, but there were no lights at all. There are no sprinklers. And I couldn't take my 1-year-old.
Hamilton police say there were 6 people in the apartment when the fire started. 4 people made it out safely, but a 21-month-old and a 3-year-old would die in the blaze. A 52-year-old resident, unrelated to the children, would be discovered in the stairwell on the 9th floor. He would also be pronounced dead.
We're going to leave no stone unturned with this investigation. Tragically, there was a couple of children that perished in this fire.
Investigators from the fire marshal's office will be on scene for several days, but they say it will be some time yet before they determine the cause of the blaze. In the interim, residents are asking questions.
Was this preventable? Why was this allowed to get this big?
I feel horrible for anyone that was on the first 2 floors, as I don't know how anyone would have made it out.
The pier towers are managed by Interrent, which responded to inquiries about the building's smoke alarms, emergency lighting and sprinklers with a statement. While we are unable to comment on the specifics of the fire currently, we are fully cooperating with all authorities as they investigate. Our immediate focus is on supporting displaced residents by helping to arrange for their temporary needs. Janice Golding, CTV News.
After decades of debate and discussion, there is now a decision about a new airport in the GTA. We'll tell you why plans to build an airport in Pickering have been grounded and what will happen to the land. That's just ahead. But first to Queen's Park, with the Premier set to call an election on Wednesday. The parties are outlining some of their campaign promises in an effort to sway voters.
The Ford government is also dealing with the financial fallout from its move to speed up the rollout of alcohol in corner stores. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris joins us live with those details. Siobhan.
Well, Doug Ford wanted this election to be about who is best to push back against the threat of U.S. tariffs. Today, though, we're seeing opposition parties talk about government mistakes and missed opportunities. The Premier said it was about giving Ontarians more choice, spending taxpayer dollars to get booze into corner stores ahead of schedule, checking off an election promise. Ontario's financial accountability officer now says that move will cost $612 million, almost 3 times more than the government said.
Doug Ford has been lying about the true costs of this ridiculous scheme.
The budget watchdog expects the change-up to alcohol sales to cost the province $1.4 billion by 2030. But it could be closer to $2 billion if our booze buying doesn't pick up.
We think that trend will continue, that declining trend in per capita alcohol consumption.
For the Liberal leader, the report highlights what she feels are Doug Ford's misplaced priorities.
He needs to focus on the issues at hand to provide the basics.
Among them, help for the estimated 2.5 million Ontarians who don't have a family doctor. The Progressive Conservative government tried to eliminate a point of attack just before the election, promising
$1.8 billion expanding primary care practitioners in the province of Ontario.
Most of that money is new, a contribution to the goal of getting all Ontarians connected to primary care by 2029.
This includes over $235 million over this next fiscal year to establish and expand 80 additional primary care teams across the province, attaching 300,000 more people to care.
The NDP taking aim at worsening congestion and the cost of living with a colossal campaign promise.
We're going to take the tolls off the 407 within the first 100 days of our government.
Something that could be pricey. Think tens of billions of dollars changing hands with the private firm that owns the toll highway.
I'm not going to negotiate with myself on this. I'll sit down with the company, certainly. But look, I think we have leverage here.
New Democrats vow that while those talks are on, to axe tolls for truckers to coax them off Highway 401 and to eliminate tolls for all drivers on the section of the 407 controlled by the province. Last week, a campaign hint from Ford.
We're going to be announcing something on the 407.
And I'm happy to.
Green Party leader Mike Schreiner has been in his home riding of Guelph, gearing up for the campaign that officially begins Wednesday. Tomorrow we'll start to see Doug Ford juggle his role as Premier and candidate. He has a news conference scheduled for the morning. In the afternoon, he goes to the Lieutenant Governor to trigger the election, and then he'll host a meeting of Canada's premiers. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Natalie, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Siobhan. And with the election set to be called this week, a new poll suggests the Ontario Liberals are closing the gap with the Progressive Conservatives. The Liaison Strategy Survey, which was conducted last week, polled just over 1,300 Ontario voters. It found the PCs have 31% support, with the Liberals in second at 23%. The NDP has 14% support. 26% of respondents indicated they remain undecided.
The early election call is influencing numbers for now, and not in the direction that Premier Doug Ford wants. We've been seeing, ever since the new year, week after week after week, more early election speculation, and also the Ontario Liberals going up week over week over week, to the point that they've gained so much now that it's outside the margin of error, and they're gaining consistently in regions that are important to them: Northern Ontario, the 905, and the City of Toronto.
The poll is considered accurate within 2.7%, 19 times out of 20.
We turn our attention to the forecast on this Monday night. There is a special weather statement in effect, warning of strong winds tonight, making for a wicked wind chill. There are also flurries in the mix. Let's bring in Lindsay Morrison for a look at the current conditions. What are you seeing, Lindsay?
Well, lots to talk about here, Michelle. We had a decently mild day with a bit of a wind chill today, thanks to these strong winds, which are coming out of the southwest. Look at that, a 100-kilometer-per-hour gust in the Niagara region just in this last little bit here. One of the communities under a wind warning. We have the special weather statement. There are snow squall warnings and watches outside of the GTA, even a blizzard warning in place for Parry Sound. Here's why. We have snow on the way. It's inching ever closer to us here in the GTA. Expect a burst of flurries later this evening, making for some tricky travel. And overnight tonight, the temperature plummets. Lots to discuss. It's all coming up in your forecast. For now, Natalie, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Still ahead, incredible video from British Columbia where patrons suffered only minor injuries after a vehicle smashed through the window of a restaurant, sending diners and tables flying. That story coming up. For more than 50 years, it has been a potential site for a new airport in the GTA, but now those plans have been grounded.
Residents in Pickering now know what will happen with the majority of the Pickering land. CTV's Mike Walker joins us in studio tonight with the latest. Mike.
Well, Michelle, Natalie, after decades of debate and extensive consultation with the community, the federal government announcing today it will not build an airport in Pickering. The plan dates back to the 1970s. Instead, the government will now transfer the land to Parks Canada.
After careful consideration, we have decided not to proceed with the development of an airport on these lands.
In front of a packed room of community members and advocates, the federal government announcing it's scrapping a decades-old plan to build an airport in Pickering. The transport minister stating an airport is not the best use of the land.
We have seen that Southern Ontario is served by several airports, and it is expected that as demand grows, those airports will adjust their operations to meet the growing demand.
The federal government first purchased the land in 1972. That immediately sparked protests in the community that have spanned more than 5 decades.
It's a long time coming.
Pan Crosby has lived in the area for 40 years and says there is finally relief after decades of uncertainty.
The residents of the area have been so up and down with not knowing what a future is going to hold for them. So I think this is perfect. We don't have to worry about it anymore.
Over the past decade, more than half of the land has been transferred to Parks Canada to create and expand Rouge National Urban Park. The government now plans to transfer the vast majority of the remaining 8,700 acres to Parks Canada,
with the goal to expand the Rouge National Park by the vast majority of the remaining 3,500 hectares through a land transfer with Transport Canada.
Back in 2023, Pickering Council withdrew its support for an airport. The government now planning to hold consultations with the community, as well as farmers and commercial tenants who lease the land to determine the best path forward.
This is going to provide an opportunity to find the best use of the remaining lands that suits the needs of this incredible community.
The transport minister adding, there's no time to waste. The government plans to launch those consultations in the coming weeks. The transport minister also noted today that the remaining land that is part of the Greenbelt will be protected. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Well, 2024 was a banner year for tourism in Toronto. Destination Toronto says tourism added $8.8 billion to the city's economy last year. Destination Toronto says 9 million overnight visitors, the most since the COVID-19 pandemic, with international tourists accounting for nearly a third of that total. Major events, of course, including Taylor Swift's concerts, the NHL All-Star Game, and the Toronto International Film Festival.
Seeing overall just how important tourism is to our city.
Yeah.
So when you see $8.8 billion, that's new money coming into our economy. So you're right, it's a little bit higher than what we had seen in 2019 in terms of the dollars. The total number of visitors still not all the way back yet, but it's making its way back. It's getting much closer. The U.S. numbers are coming back up. The international numbers are starting to come back. So you've got this combination of the return of visitors and some inflation. We've obviously seen price increases since 2019. But at the end of the day, that's $8.8 billion in new dollars coming into our economy, which is so important to thousands of jobs.
Destination Toronto says it is also expecting big numbers in 2026, in large part because of the FIFA World Cup in June and July.
The TTC board is calling on the transit agency to improve the way it addresses and communicates service delays.
This motion will tackle critical service delays and take concrete steps to improve subway reliability and ensure better communication with riders during service interruptions.
The board today asked TTC staff to review signaling system maintenance, improve communication with riders during service disruptions, and look at ways to start shuttle bus service sooner following a disruption.
When there are delays that are even inevitable, when there is a good reason for one, at the very least, we need information from the TTC about how long it's going to go for, so we can make a decision about whether or not you remain or maybe try to find a different way to get around.
The directive asked staff to ensure PA system announcements are clear and timely and explore the development of a TTC app to provide riders with real-time information. And starting tonight and lasting through Friday, subway service between St. George and St. Andrew stations will end at 11 p.m. Regular service is set to resume each morning.
Around the world and here at home, people are marking Holocaust Remembrance Day.
Students with the Toronto District School Board viewed a special presentation that was both in person and live streamed, featuring an incredible story of survival. CTV's Beth McDonnell reports.
Sitting in the back wasn't good enough. Jewish kids were kicked out of school entirely.
In her moving presentation to grade 6 students, Michelle Gleed Goldstein shares horrors and lessons from her father, Bill Gleed, surviving the Holocaust.
Where he got into the line, I don't really know, but I never saw him again. That was the last time coming out of the boxcar that I ever saw him. I never said goodbye, we never kissed or hugged.
Glede Goldstein feels an obligation to tell his story as a Jewish boy ostracized in his community, being sent to Auschwitz and working as a slave laborer.
The fact that they sent the sick people away without doctors or anything like that, they just left them there to die. I never heard that before, so yeah, that was really sad to hear.
The part that stuck out for me was when the soldier let him go to the sick camp with his father. I think that he was trying to do something nice for him.
Today is International Holocaust Remembrance Day. It comes with a new survey of 11,000 grade 6 students. It found 67% think the Holocaust could happen again.
But the survey conducted across Ontario on behalf of Liberation 75 also found 56% said when anti-Semitism happens, it's a big problem that needs urgent attention. That 29% of students said Canada should be doing more to combat hate, with 29% of respondents saying they wanted to fight it.
We are going to have great success in molding the students before they get fully involved in the hatefulness that we see in society.
In Ontario, Holocaust learning is mandatory in grade 6 and grade 10. This presentation, part of the education Glede Goldstein believes is so important for the future.
As they watch this presentation, that they realize that there is a need to be kind to people around you, and that when you see things that are unkind, that when you see things that aren't right, that you feel that obligation to do something.
It's a story resonating with students.
We should treat everyone with kindness, even if you don't like them,
And don't be a bystander.
To stand up and take action. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
World leaders gathered in Poland today, joining Holocaust survivors at Auschwitz-Birkenau. They commemorated International Holocaust Remembrance Day on the anniversary of the concentration camp's liberation. CTV's Colton Prale reports.
It was 80 years ago the Soviet Red Army pushed through the gates of Auschwitz-Birkenau, liberating thousands of prisoners and unmasking one of the greatest atrocities ever committed. 8 decades later, some of the few survivors returned, laying candles at the base of a train car near the gates of the concentration camp.
We were helpless. We were abandoned. Nobody to complain to about our lot, and nobody, or hardly anybody, helped.
Today, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and world leaders joined survivors as they returned to the same grounds where an estimated 1.1 million people were killed, the overwhelming majority of them Jewish, including Miriam Ziegler's entire family.
I have the most horrible nightmares since October, and I was told I was coming here. I don't think I slept one night.
But Ziegler says their stories matter now more than ever, as high-profile anti-Semitic incidents spike in Canada and around the world.
If you don't do anything about it, it's going to repeat itself, which we are witnessing now, what happened with the hate and the spewing of it. Auschwitz didn't come down from the sky. It started with words. And it ends with the chimney being burned and going out in the smoke.
That message repeated by the Prime Minister, where global instability was a focus in a meeting between Trudeau and Polish President Andrzej Duda earlier in the day.
It's not just about the past, it's about the present and the future as well. The responsibility to remember and to say never again.
Today, the Prime Minister announced $3.4 million in new funding to combat anti-Semitism and preserve Holocaust remembrance, repeating his commitment to never again. Colton Prale, CTV News, Auschwitz-Birkenau.
And in Ottawa, a Holocaust memorial ceremony was held today with Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre speaking out against anti-Semitism in Canada and abroad.
We know the Jewish people will prevail. We know the state of Israel will live on. We as Canadians must live on as allies and friends so that when we say never again, we mean it.
Poilievre says today's event reminded him of a ceremony he attended 15 years ago that saw Holocaust survivors march from Auschwitz to Birkenau.
In the Middle East, Israel says a Hamas list shows 8 of the 33 hostages scheduled to be released in the first phase of the Gaza ceasefire are dead. The Israelis received the list from mediators of the truce. It says the other 25 hostages are alive. About 90 people are still being held by Hamas. Israel says the next release will take place on Thursday, followed by another on Saturday.
In the Gaza Strip, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians are beginning to return to the most heavily destroyed area for the first time since the early weeks of the war. Crowds walked along a seaside road all day and into the night after Israel opened the north as part of the ceasefire agreement with Hamas. People who have been sheltering in squalid tent camps and former schools are eager to return to their homes, even though they are likely damaged or completely destroyed. In all, about 90% of Gaza's 2.3 million people have been displaced. Elsewhere, the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon has been extended to February 18th.
Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister will be in Washington this week to discuss the threat of U.S. tariffs with her American counterpart. And today, Mélanie Joly said she will also be reaching out to other allied countries.
I'll be talking this week to the British Foreign Minister. I'll be also talking to key European foreign ministers. I've been in constant contact with also my Mexican counterpart. And our objective, as I said, has been and will continue to be to prevent tariffs.
Donald Trump has threatened to impose 25% duties on all Canadian goods as soon as this Saturday if Ottawa doesn't improve border security. Joly believes Canada has to be practical when working with Europe and the UK, saying the U.S. president wants to use tariffs against the world. She spoke following a meeting this morning of a federal cabinet committee on American relations.
Today is the last day for Canadians to join the Liberal Party in time to vote for its next leader and ultimately the next Prime Minister.
The deadline comes as it remains unclear why one candidate was kicked out of the race. CTV's Judy Trinh reports.
I'm running to be the next Prime Minister of Canada.
Ottawa MP Chandra Arya has been ejected from the Liberal leadership race. He had submitted the $50,000 deposit fee and gathered more than 1,000 signatures of endorsement. Arya said his removal raises significant questions about the legitimacy of the leadership race and, by extension, the legitimacy of the next Prime Minister of Canada. Arya was running on a platform of smaller government but does not speak French. The foreign minister says he's unqualified to be leader.
I expect the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada to be fully bilingual because we are in a bilingual country. We're the party of official bilingualism, and it is at the core of our DNA.
According to the Liberal Party constitution, the board can remove candidates with sole, unfettered discretion due to public statements, past improper conduct, and a lack of commitment to democracy. The public safety minister was asked if foreign interference was a factor.
That question's better put to the Liberal Party of Canada, its executive and its executive director.
Just last year, Arya traveled to India to meet with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his own, at a time when the government had accused the Modi government of being involved in the killing of a Sikh activist. Arya's removal is seen as an opportunity for another candidate in the race.
We need your vote and your support to elect and to make history for the very first time and have the first Canadian Prime Minister from the South Asian and Indo-Canadian community.
Arya has not responded to requests for more information about what he was told by the party about his removal. The Liberal Party has also not provided more information. Judy Trinh, CTV News, Ottawa.
Some incredible video to show you from British Columbia, where remarkably no one was seriously injured after a vehicle slammed into a restaurant. This happened yesterday around 3 in the afternoon at a burger joint in Courtenay, BC. And there it is. You can see the vehicle smash through the glass in the upper right of the screen, slamming into a man who was sitting at a table next to the window. The owner of the restaurant says the man suffered only minor injuries. An employee of the restaurant was also taken to hospital for observation, but remarkably, no one, including the elderly woman driving the vehicle, suffered serious injuries. The restaurant is open for takeout only today. They hope to be fully reopened tomorrow.
Still to come on CTV News, millions of fans counting down just 500 days to go until FIFA World Cup. Our Sean Leathong sits down with Canada's head coach for a look ahead to the first ever home soil match.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, if your car gets in an accident, how long should it take to get it repaired? Depending on the make and model, there can be delays in getting parts. One woman says she's been waiting for almost a year to get her car back. I'll have my reports just ahead.
So tonight we're looking at roughly 2 to 4 centimeters of snow, but it's not the snowfall accumulation. It's the fact that these winds are going to be blowing it around, reducing visibility on the roads and making for some tricky travel. Tomorrow is a cold day, but it's a bit of a one-off. We'll talk about the mild highs in store for this week coming up. And stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
No one wants to get in a car accident, and if you do, it can be frustrating trying to get your vehicle repaired.
Depending on how new your car is, there can be long delays in getting the parts needed to fix it. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Natalie and Michelle. A Pickering woman bought a brand new electric car in late 2023. Only 2 months later, she was in a serious car accident. Her vehicle has been in the shop for the past 11 months, and she has no idea when she'll get it back.
There's no date as to when my car is going to be ready, and we're now nearing almost a year since I had the accident.
Manmeet Matahar of Pickering wanted to go green, and in December of 2023, she bought a brand new Audi e-tron Q4 fully electric car. Unfortunately, 2 months later, she was in a serious car accident.
All the airbags deployed, and it was pretty scary. It was a pretty scary hit.
Matahar says the $72,000 car had about $35,000 damage, and TD, her insurance company, decided to repair it. But there have been countless delays waiting for about 35 different parts. Many are on back order.
It's still not ready. It's still not repaired.
After several months, Matahar had to return the rental car she was given. Now she has to borrow her mother's car to get to work, and she is also making expensive monthly lease payments for a car she can't drive.
They're about $900 a month. I'm still paying my insurance premiums, and I'm paying for gas now when I budgeted for no gas when I got the electric vehicle.
Matahar says she's frustrated she can't get a clear answer when her car will be repaired.
They're still telling me that there's one more part that Audi's still waiting for. It's now been over 2 weeks, and there's no deadline. I still don't know when my car is going to be ready.
When CTV News reached out to TD, the company said TD Insurance understands the frustrations caused by extended repair timelines due to car part shortages, and that we are working with the customer to resolve this claim as quickly and as safely as possible. Not long after we contacted TD, Matahar says she received an apology. Her $1,000 deductible was waived, and her car was returned after almost 1 year of waiting.
Well, thank you, CTV News. I'm feeling so great about having my car back. I really don't think I would have got it back if I hadn't made the call to Consumer Alert.
And the repair industry says there are still problems with car part delays due to supply chain issues. Also, when it's a brand new vehicle, some parts may not be in the system yet, which can cause even more holdups when getting repairs done. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, there's a lot going on weather-wise on this Monday. I think wind being the big story, at least to start.
Yeah, we saw you down earlier today, Lindsay. The Leafs outdoor practice looking beautifully sunny, but very gusty.
Yes, fortunately, the wind's not overly cold. It was a pretty nice day to be outside. And I say that because when we consider what's coming for tonight, some very cold temperatures into the day tomorrow and some snow ahead of that, well, it made today look pretty awesome. Here's what it looked like earlier this afternoon. We were down by Lake Ontario, but you could feel those winds. And the winds were kicking up the waves, creating some white caps. And yeah, you needed the parka today, even under that brilliant sunshine. We have all kinds of weather advisories, special weather statements, watches and warnings in place. So let's get right to it. It's a special weather statement warning of the wind for us here in Toronto. Wind warning Hamilton, Niagara, the northern shore of Lake Erie, as well as over toward the Kingston area. 100 kilometer per hour gusts being recorded in Niagara Falls. And it's a similar situation for Owen Sound. We've got snow squall watches and warnings. There's been blowing snow in this part part of the province today. And there's that blizzard warning around Parry Sound with 10 to 20 centimeters of snow possible by tonight. We've got these strong winds that are going to change direction through the night tonight. So we will tap into more of a northwesterly wind. That's going to cool us down. Tomorrow, just want to give you a little heads up for tomorrow night. We're going to get another round of active weather, once again with some gusty southwest winds. So really it's 2 rounds of snow, but we're going to talk about this evening. Here's your traveler's forecast. If you do have to be out and about on the roads, it's not the amount of snow in the forecast that's of concern. It's the blowing, the drifting, the reduced visibility. And as that cold front slices through, the temperature is really going to drop sharply into tomorrow morning. So 2 to 4 centimeters around the GTA for tonight. Tomorrow's round of snow, yeah, it could be another 5 centimeters. And that's going to happen a little bit earlier in the evening. So about this time tomorrow, we will be dealing with some snow. Here's our forecast radar. So that's around midnight tonight. And you can see that line, that frontal system moving through. A heavy burst of snow is expected. Tomorrow morning, though, we're back into some sunshine, albeit briefly. There's tomorrow evening. So once again, about 5 centimeters of additional snow in store for the GTA. That's going to continue on and off into Wednesday. Again, conditions are going to slowly start to improve, but we could be dealing with a few lake effect bands right into the evening before temperatures improve and we head into a drier couple of days for the end of the week. Temperature-wise, very cold in the north. We're at -1 degree right now, so it's not too bad. But overnight tonight, we fall to about -9, -10 degrees. It is going to feel like -20 waking up again tomorrow morning. But this is really the only really cold day for at least the next couple of days. There's that snow once again for tomorrow evening. Let's take you through your 7-day forecast. A little bit of a temperature roller coaster. Highs of 1 degree for Wednesday, 0 for Thursday, Friday. Beautiful sunshine for your Friday. Then it's going to be a little bit cold to kick off the weekend with the temperature up and down Sunday and back down for Monday. That's your look at weather for now. Natalie, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, a prescription for healthy aging. Research reveals the power of movement in curbing mortality, prompting a push for doctors to prescribe physical activity for their older patients. A new study by an Ontario researcher suggests exercise can not only improve your health, it can extend your lifespan.
So much so, doctors are being encouraged to prescribe physical activity to older adults. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has more.
At least 1 in 5 Canadians will be 65 or older in 2025, and the number of people over 85 is expected to triple in the next 20 years.
Physical activity is any kind of movement, but essentially that can garner health benefits in numerous ways, not just physical, but mental and social health benefits as well.
But Dr. Jane Thornton, a former Olympic rower who says she was in her teens before she became active, says without adequate exercise, added years of life won't mean much. And right now, 80% of adults don't meet the recommendations for daily exercise set by the Canadian Physical Activity Guidelines.
We look for about 150 to 300 minutes per week of moderate to vigorous physical activity. So the way that I break that down for people usually is around half an hour a day.
Research shows moderate physical activity can reduce the risk of death from all causes by 31%, and it can help reduce or prevent many chronic conditions.
There's good evidence for 30 plus chronic conditions that exercise, physical activity can help with. And so essentially we look across the range of type 2 diabetes, of dementia, of mental health conditions, and so on.
Better physical fitness can improve joint and bone health, improve cognitive and mental health, and even help prevent falls.
Standing on even a yoga mat or something along those lines, it really depends, or it could be standing on one leg, balancing with eyes closed, or introducing some concept of training balance in a different way.
And if 300 minutes of exercise is good, is more even better? Thornton says yes, but if you haven't been exercising for a while, build up to it gradually. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow has declared food insecurity an emergency in the city.
Torontonians are struggling. Groceries are more expensive, and for many, life is just not very affordable.
Chat was at Islington Junior Middle School this morning. She's calling on the province to increase funding for school food programs. The mayor is also calling on the federal government to boost supports, including further investment in Ontario Works, ODSP, and old age security.
Toronto Police opened a new community safety hub at Fairview Mall this morning.
This is really the first community safety hub for Toronto Police. It is very, very different in that it's here for community to engage with our members, but it won't just be staffed by police officers.
The community hub will be located inside the mall. It is not a police station and will be staffed by crime prevention officers, neighborhood officers, and auxiliary officers.
After the break, a Chinese artificial intelligence company shaking things up on the markets. Low-cost AI tool DeepSeek debuts, sending big tech stocks tumbling.
Doug Ford has been lying about the true costs of this ridiculous scheme.
Updating our top stories now, a sobering new report on the cost of rushing alcohol into Ontario's corner stores may be tough to swallow for voters as the clock ticks down to the call for a provincial election. The province's financial accountability officer says the government spent $612 million to speed up its plans, almost 3 times what the government had said it would cost.
When I hit the second floor, it was thick black smoke. I could not see within 2 inches of my face. Luckily, the firefighters managed to get all of us out.
We're hearing firsthand from those who survived a Hamilton fire that claimed the lives of 3 people, including 2 young children. Police say 6 people were inside the first floor unit when the fire started. 4 made it out safely. Another resident was found in a stairwell.
The residents of the area have been so up and down with not knowing what a future is going to hold for them. So I think this is perfect. We don't have to worry about it anymore.
And after more than 5 decades of debate, residents in Durham region now know that an airport is not in the plans for Pickering. As part of the announcement grounding plans for the airport, the federal government also announced it would be transferring the vast majority of the land into the care of Parks Canada.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you ever have a news tip, photos, or video or breaking news, let us know.
Investor concerns about a Chinese artificial intelligence startup wiped more than $500 billion from the stock market value of chipmaker NVIDIA today. Andrew Bell of Bain & Bloomberg brings us the latest in business.
Hello there. The market is spooked that a Chinese startup called DeepSeek has figured out a way to create artificial intelligence much more cheaply than US tech giants. Shares in chipmaker NVIDIA tumbled 17% today, raising more than $500 billion from its market capitalization, a new record one-day drop for any company. NVIDIA's expensive chips are used to run AI programs, and the fear is that big US companies have poured too much money into AI since the Chinese firm appears to provide comparable performance much more cheaply. Other tech stocks also dropped. The Canadian dollar traded at 69.57 US cents, down 0.14 of a US cent. West Texas Intermediate oil changed hands at $73.17, down $1.47. Western Canadian Select Oil at our latest fix was $60.64 US a barrel, up 1 cent. And the TSX Composite ended at 25,289.15, down just over 179 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
The Toronto Raptors are back on home court tonight looking for a 4th straight win.
Running the floor now. Here's Barrett, the 3. Bucket and bucket.
Toronto had back-to-back road wins over Atlanta. This evening, they faced the Pelicans, who've lost 2 in a row and are second last in the Western Conference. The Raptors won in New Orleans in November. Meanwhile, the NBA named Scotty Barnes the Eastern Conference Player of the Week today. The Raptors guard forward averaged 22 points, 9.7 rebounds, and 6 assists as his team went undefeated last week. He is the 12th player in franchise history to earn Player of the Week honors. Well, tomorrow marks a milestone on the road to the World Cup.
The 2026 tournament, which will feature games here in Toronto, will kick off in just 500 days. CTV Shanli Thong sat down with Team Canada's head coach to talk about preparations for the tournament.
Going into the World Cup, do you allow yourself to think of that moment, the moment when you step out onto the pitch, it's on Canadian soil, and just feeling that energy?
Well, you know, today being the 500 days, I think it's inevitable that you allow yourself to think about it a little bit. But for me, it's about the preparation and the details of making sure that when those 500 days arrive, that the team is ready.
Friday, June 12th, 2026. That's the day when Canada's men's national team takes the pitch at BMO Field for the first ever World Cup match to be played on Canadian soil. Head coach Jesse Marsh says this team is looking to take big steps over the time leading up to then.
We think now that we're good enough to really earn our way through this tournament.
Buchanan with the cross in towards Alphonso Davies!
In Qatar 2022, Canada made history, scoring their first goal at a World Cup but failing to get a win. Then this past July, the team surprising many with a semi-final appearance at the Copa America. The team will meet Mexico for the Nations League finals in March.
So in 2025, is it important to bring home some hardware before the World Cup?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes, right? And we want to put that pressure on ourselves.
Currently, Canada's enjoying their highest ever world ranking at 31. Marsh says when the World Cup comes, they plan on being better.
Would you see victories at this tournament as upsets?
No. I think we're no longer a team that should be feeling like the underdog.
Marsh is American, originally from Racine, Wisconsin, having taken over this past May. But while the team is moving up, Soccer Canada has been battling the fallout from the spying scandal when the women's team was found to be filming opposing teams' practices this past summer.
I think for us, this has not really been much of a distraction. You know, I understand that publicly that there was some people that felt upset by it, some people that didn't think it was a big a deal, and they say that this happens other places. For us, it's just been continuing to focus on being our best.
Marsh says Canada can and should focus on the players.
Been saying a lot that this is the people's team, right? And one of the reasons that I think it's the people's team is because the player pool, from a cultural standpoint, represents, I think, a lot of things that Canada is.
With exciting talent like Alphonso Davies and many more.
Jonathan David scoring weekly in Champions League. I think Alistair Johnston is continuing to emerge as a really important player at Celtic. Moise Bombito, we know, is a great talent.
And as good as the team has become, Marsh says they're looking to reach farther than many expect.
Do you reach so far as to talk about winning the entire tournament?
I brought it up at one point, and I said, it's not really time to start talking. Like, could we win the tournament? But, why would we play in it if we don't want to win it?
He and the players know winning the World Cup is a tall order, but one they're happy to fight for. Shanli Thong, CTV News.
Still to come on CTV News, Toronto's best hit the outdoor ice, blowing away fans on a windy day. Leafs lovers score a glimpse of the hockey stars at a special practice. That's just ahead.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Finally tonight, it was a big day for Leaf fans in Etobicoke who got to see some of their favorite players up close and close to home.
The team took their practice outdoors today, right to the shore of Lake Ontario. CTV's Rahim Ladani has more.
From the moment the players stepped off the bus, they were greeted by a legion of blue and white.
Meeting the players is just so fun.
I'm aging and I want to see them win the cup.
That may not be guaranteed, but watching Austin Matthews score a goal up close is the next best thing.
Just the experience in general is always fun. I mean, the turnout's great. It's nice to win, like I said, so yeah, it was fun.
The outdoor practice has become a Maple Leafs tradition and is the marquee event after a community-filled weekend.
On a typical Monday, most of these kids would be in the classroom at school, but their parents tell me that being out here, getting to watch the Maple Leafs practice, is also a unique learning experience.
Hard work, obviously, right? Especially whatever you do in life, right? Whether it's hockey, whether it's, science or whatever interests you, that's what matters, and, stick to what makes them happy.
While some had the perfect view of the ice, others got creative just to catch a glimpse. And then there's Penny. who's making sure every player hears her passion.
I love them so much, and this is like, I think they're like the first chance for me to like come this close like to them, you know, because the ticket is so expensive. I can't go there.
For the first time, this practice is being held at the Prince of Wales rink, making the experience more accessible. It's also a homecoming for the team president.
You know, maybe Brendan will like this. I'll get a picture with him and he'll shoot me a couple of tickets.
Mimico down here, New Toronto right here, Long Branch up the street. It's kind of where I started playing my hockey and my lacrosse.
For the players, this is a welcomed breather from the grueling NHL season. It's a chance for Jake McCabe and Chris Tanev to spend time with their families, while Mitch Marner gets to play with his dog Zeus.
You take practice really seriously, that's your chance to get better, but days like today are a lot of fun. They help break up the monotony of the season.
It's also an opportunity to give back and connect with the fans who will be cheering them on the rest of the way. Raheem Ladani, CTV News.
Oh my gosh, how fabulous is that? Go Leafs go. And you were right there. The fans were pumped, I'm sure.
It was a lot of fun. The sun was shining. It was a fantastic morning and early afternoon. So good for the Leafs to do that for all the fans. We have to talk about some active weather now rolling in. We've had the gusty winds all day long. Snow is approaching. It's now moving into the north end of Oshawa, Kitchener, Guelph, getting into some of this too. Around 8 p.m. tonight, much of the GTA going to be in this. We have very strong winds continuing out of the southwest. Right now, there's our patchwork of weather watches, warnings, advisories in place. A reminder that with these strong wind gusts, power outages are a possibility and debris could be scattered on roadways depending on how loosely they're tied down, for example. Here's one more look at the 7-day forecast. We've got another round of snow for tomorrow night. Then things will get a little bit quieter and milder, especially toward the end of the work and school week. Natalie and Michelle.
Thank you, Lindsay. That's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with your next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CB24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.